Hello and welcome to After Plague and welcome to the final week of Inktober. Yay! I did it! I'm so excited to have finished Inktober this year. I've never finished it before, so I'm just absolutely thrilled. The first thing that I decided I was going to do is I went back because I missed day 3. And I would have been incredibly upset to have gotten every single day except day 3 done. So I went back and I I did day 3, which for my prompt list was the word torch. So I decided to do a torch like a flashlight torch rather than a lit up torch. I figured I would just do this quick and easy illustration with some fun underlighting. It's a lighting scenario I hadn't had the chance to do yet this October. It was a little bit challenging to do it with just the black and white and not use any gray, but I think it turned out pretty cool. So this is day 3, my makeup torch. Next up, day 22. The prompt word was horror, so I started thinking about all of the iconic horror movies and horror movie villains, and fun fact about me, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Saw series. I've never seen any of the movies though, and I know that sounds impossible, because it kind of is. But the thing that I like about the Saw series is sort of watching analysis of it, timelines of it. I've watched the kill counts for it at least 1,000,000 times. I put them on in the background all the time, and it's because I'm just absolutely fascinated by the series, but I am way too much of a weenie to actually watch it. So I don't. But I figured that Billy the Puppet from Saw is a pretty iconic horror villain, and I wanted to try something with the spiral. There's this trend that I see, especially on TikTok, where there are these x-ray drawings. So people will draw an illustration and then put black paint on top and then draw over the black paint with white, so it looks like an x-ray, quote unquote. So I wanted to try that. It didn't turn out. I'm really disappointed that it didn't. I'd love to try it again in the future because I'm sure I could make it work. I don't know if it was my hatching or if it was just how much of it was an issue. Yeah, I really don't know. This one gave me some really distinct problems with the coloring and everything like that, so it wasn't the most fun illustration to do, but I did it. And I did keep that spiral in the background because I thought it was still pretty cool, despite not getting the x-ray thing to work the way I wanted. So that's day 22, horror. For day 23, the prompt word was carnivore, and my initial thought was to do something like a wolf, like the wolf that I did for day 19, I believe. It was teeth. But considering I had just so recently done one, because this is only day 23, it's only 4 days later, I was like, what if instead I do this cannibal motif? And I loved the idea. I thought it turned out so cute. Shout out to my boyfriend for giving me the idea of where to put the fork, because I was having such a hard time figuring out where I wanted it. I think putting it in the hand is very funny. I think it adds a humorous little twist to it. So this one wasn't actually too difficult. I did find a surprising pattern in a lot of my Inktobers that I've drawn a lot of hands. So go back over my Instagram at AfterPlague and check that out, because I have drawn a surprising number of hands considering how difficult I find them to draw. This one was pretty fun, pretty easy. I kept it nice and light. Yeah, that's pretty much it for day 23, Carnivore. Day 24, the word was warfare. And I thought about doing a lot of different kinds of illustrations, but all of them were getting a bit too complicated in my head. These big grand battlefields, these, very dramatic scenes. And I decided actually the thing that I find the most scary about war and warfare was chemical weapons. I think that they are terrifying. Reading about them is absolutely super scary. So I decided to draw this gas masked up character, which in and of themselves are really creepy looking, they have quite a terrifying presence. Yeah, this one was surprisingly difficult to try and add dimension to. I just felt like no matter what I was doing, it was looking a little bit odd. I don't know. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's just the hatching on this one was feeling a little bit weird. So it's not my favorite hatching-wise, but I really do like the intensity of the eyes, and I like the shape of the gas mask a lot. I think that turned out really well. This was also one of the illustrations that I sort of decided to play with the text a little bit. I kind of wish that I had done a little bit more with the typography this month. Part of that was just I didn't really plan for a few of them where I would put the typography before I was finished. Probably next Inktober I'll try and do something a little bit more interesting with the typography, but for this one I decided to place the text across his helmet and do some warping to make it look like it was printed on the helmet itself. I think it turned out okay, but I'd like to do a lot more of that in next year's Inktober. So that is day 24, Warfare. Day 25, the prompt word was Ghastly, which was a difficult one to come up with an idea for. Eventually I decided to do this like very ornate looking mirror, but cracked and with like a figure in it that was hiding their face because they believed that they were ghastly. This one... I feel like I have a lot of regrets about the illustrations I drew this week, but I also like all of them. I accidentally did all of this stuff on the same layer, and so I was having a really hard time when it came to shading, because like I shaded him all in, I hatched him all in, and then I realized I'd done it on the same layer I'd done the line art, and I was like, no, because I didn't really like that initial hatching that I did. But I had done too many lines to undo it, and I just had to work with what I had. But I still think it turned out pretty well. I was trying to make the cracks stand out on his body more, so they have a white clipping mask on them as well. And I wish the eyes stood out a little bit more. But what can you do? That's day 25, Ghastly. Day 26, the word was wounded. So I decided to do this deer. I was feeling a little bit Christmassy, so I sort of used a reindeer as a reference image, and I made this like arrow going straight through it with this really fun like blood splash effect coming off of it. Very violent. I sent this to my family and my mom was immediately like, no, he's not wounded, he's dead. You have to draw him like happily eating grass now. But I also decided to have some fun with the composition on this one. I put it inside of this circle, and then I added these like dark reaching tree branches coming on the inside. I kept the hatching on this one pretty light. I wanted to make the deer look like pure, for lack of a better word, because I think that makes him look a little bit more sad, as if he looks more pure. I used the blood to silhouette that arrow so you could see it a little bit better, because compared to everything else it is pretty thin and small, but I think it turned out really good. So that is day 26, Wounded. Day 27 is definitely one of my favorite ones that I've drawn this month. The prompt word was Parasite, and I know that mushrooms are not a parasite, they're a fungus. I just really didn't want to draw a worm, okay? Because that's the only thing I could think of. Like, I think most parasites are like worms, you know? But I really wanted to draw this like fungus. So for those that do not know, this is an inky cap mushroom. I think they're an extremely cool looking mushroom, and I thought it would look really, really good with the Inktober prompt because they're sort of like goopy and dripping with black goo. So I decided to draw this woman who has been overtaken by like fungus and spores and that kind of thing. She's got several different kinds of mushrooms growing out of her body. I tried not to make it look too graphic, like it growing out of her wise. I honestly just had a really, really good time doing this one. I tried a new hatching style that I think actually looked fantastic. I was doing like rows of hatches, and using that to create dimension with like actual gaps in between the hatches. I think it turned out super cute. I would love to do this style again. I also drew this on stream. I stream on my Twitch most weekends. I've been really bad about it recently. I feel bad. The last like couple weekends I haven't been super consistent about it, but I stream most weekends, Thursday through Sunday starting at 3 p.m. So if you'd like to come by and watch me stream and hang out with me, I'll take some requests. Why not? That sounds super fun. Now that Inktober's over, I can finally work on other projects during my stream, which is very exciting. Back to the illustration, I really wanted to make it look like there were spores going on. I couldn't find a brush that I liked. I spent forever looking for a brush that I felt looked like a cloud of spores. I couldn't get it, you know? All of them were either like too thick or whatever, so I actually had to go in and hand paint the spores by myself, which took forever. So I really sped that up in this video, but I decided to do like a main trail of spores coming out of her mouth and then decorate the background with them. That's day 27, Parasite. Day 28, the prompt word was fear, and I was really thinking about what to do with this one. I was like, do I draw one of my worst fears? Maybe, but I didn't really want to look at photos of cockroaches forever. I hate cockroaches. I think they're so nasty. But one of my other biggest fears is people breaking and entering into my house. I would die. I would rather perish instantly than to have somebody like break into my house and be sneaking around. So I decided to draw that. And this person's like sort of hiding under their covers from that. The main thing that took me the most time with this illustration was getting all the like wrinkles to look semi-okay, like they were actually laying on a comforter. And it was alright. It was a pretty fun illustration to do. I ended up adding this like ghostly figure that's like standing over them, the shadow of a figure rather, not necessarily a ghost, standing over them, having broken into their house. I did that same hatching thing that I did with the Parasite one yesterday because I thought it turned out so good. To add more contrast to this one, I ended up making her hair black and then adding back in her hair strands with a clipping mask. That's in case you're ever wondering how I'm very quickly recoloring my line art. I use clipping masks. I've thought about like using alpha lock, but I don't know the difference. So I'm gonna have to do some research and figure out what's the difference between a clipping mask and an alpha lock. If you know, feel free to comment. I would love to get a comment about that. And if I do, I will give you a shout out in my next video. Thank you, future commenter. But yeah, this one was pretty easy. Just trying to add in some shading wherever I believed the blankets would overlap, adding in this dark spooky shadow of the man. And then I didn't like how it was over her eyes directly, so I shifted it off to the side a little bit to create some more space there. But that is day 28, Fear. Did I say 29 at first? I meant day 28. Next up is day 29. Day 29 was Ghoul. Now, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I have often heard ghouls as being like in the Halloween vocabulary. You know, there's like ghost goblins and ghouls. But when I went to think about it, I'm like, I have no idea what a ghoul actually is. What do ghouls do? And apparently the answer is a ghoul is a spirit that digs up graves and eats corpses. And I was like, that is some absolutely fascinating mythology, because it's probably like somebody just didn't bury somebody deep enough and some animal came along and ate the corpse and they were like, oh my god, it's a spirit, it's a ghost. You know? I think that's really fascinating that that's very like almost easily tied back to what that is. You know, that seems extremely obvious to what that might be. But I think that's so fascinating that you can sort of trace back some of the, or at least hypothesize about some of the origins of what these creatures would be. But yeah, I basically just drew this little goblin hanging out on a tombstone, munching on an arm. This was a pretty fun, quick, easy one. I decided to add in these clouds to get break up the white background a little bit. But day 19, Ghoul. Day 20 was, ooh, did I say day 19? I meant day 29. Day 30 is Escape. And this is actually the last Inktober that I did. I did them out of order a little bit. I did day 31 before this one because I'm uploading this video on the 31st, so I needed to get that one done quickly. But considering this was the last one that I did, I wanted to go out with a bit of a bang. I drew a bit more of an elaborate scene. I drew, a building, a forest, a character, some props. It was genuinely really fun. So I decided like the story behind this was like the guy was some sort of serial killer who had kidnapped a woman, but she had gotten away, only leaving behind her heels because she can't run in them, But it was really fun. I had a really good time like doing the silhouette of him in the doorway and the trees in the background, making them look spooky and spindly. I think the ground looks nice and textured and the shoes look beat up. I honestly really like this illustration. I think it stands up really well on its own. It works really well as part of this collection as well. I just finished it before recording this and I'm still extremely pleased with it. Yeah, I just had a really good time. That's all I have to say. So that's day 30, Escape. Last but not least, day 31. The word was Hallow, so I decided to do a little ghosty goo out trick-or-treating. I decided to add a little bit of a background. I added like this little picket fence and some like spindly looking trees. And the majority of the time I spent on this one was actually also with the hatching. I decided to do yet another different style of hatching. I mostly illustrated this one with like little X's as the hatching, and I think it turned out super cute. I think it has like a different texture than the others. Genuinely, I'm so excited to have tried out all of these different styles of hatching, to have worked really hard. I'm really thrilled about this Inktober in general. I've never done it before. I've tried to do Inktober a couple times. I got 4 days through one time, I got 6 days through another time, but I've never even gotten kind of close to finishing it. And to have like worked really hard and actually finished out the project, finished out October, having drawn every single day a completed illustration, and I'm proud of all of them. Some of them aren't my favorites, but I'm still proud of them, and I'm still extremely happy that I did this challenge. It's been really good for like my Instagram and stuff as well. I love these art challenges. I love seeing what everybody comes up with. Yeah, I'm so excited. The Darktober prompt list was fantastic. Thank you to the runners of the Darktober Instagram page for coming up with their prompt list. I think it was varied and interesting and extremely fun to do. Yeah, I'm so happy with everything that I've learned this Inktober. I'm sorry if I sound a little sappy. I am feeling a little sappy. But I actually have an announcement to make. Hopefully, I'm going to be selling all of these Inktobers as a collection, as an art book, as well as pairing short stories up with each of them. So that will be coming out as soon as I can possibly get it out. Hopefully it all comes to fruition there. I really just need to find like the best source to sell it through, because I obviously can't like bind and sell things myself. But yeah, be on the lookout for that if you'd like a collection of these illustrations with never before seen short stories in relation to each of them. I'm just extremely pleased with this Inktober, and I think I'm gonna make that a trend every year, is I'm going to make a book of my Inktober illustrations so that I can have them and view my progress year over year. That's basically all I have to say about this Inktober, so thank you so much for watching. If you haven't seen my other Inktober videos, you can go ahead and watch them in the playlist that's in the iCard. I am on social media. I'm very active on Instagram, @AfterPlague. I'm also @AfterPlague on Twitch. Again, I stream there Thursday through Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. And I am @after_plague on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm always hanging out there. As I finish up the last of the shading on the little ghost here, I would like to once again thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys want to see next. I'm ready to start a new series on YouTube. So this is day 31, Hallow. Happy Halloween, and I hope you survive this post-plague world.